Desk tonight. We talk all things field hockey and their loss to LIU and the September slump the volleyball team is currently having. Will this change? Find out on Bobcat Breakdown, starting right now. Welcome to Bobcat Breakdown on this lovely Tuesday night. I'm your host, Jacqueline Drovo. Alongside me, I have Joey O'Donoghue and women's soccer beat reporter Santino Mayoni. How are you guys feeling tonight?
I, for one, am fired up. I got some tricks up my sleeve for you, Tino. How are you feeling?
Listen, as Geno Smith said last night, you've been writing me off all day, Joey. I haven't been writing back. I'm ready for this. Let's get into the debates.
Okay.
Starting off with men's soccer, goalkeepers Matt Pisani and Carl Netzel have played the exact same amount of minutes through the first 5 games of the season. Now heading into the Sacred Heart game and into MAC play, who should become the starter later into the season? Joey, we'll start with you. Who is your pick?
Oh, it should be Matt Pisani. I mean, you said it. They played the exact same amount of minutes, so there's no excuses here. The stats tell the story. And Pisani has more saves than Netzel. He has 12. Netzel only has 7. Pisani also has a better save percentage at 75%, while Netzel is just at 63.6%. And let's not forget that Pisani has 2 shutout victories. Netzel has not had a clean sheet all season long. So Pisani started 2 games, and the opponents did not score a single goal against him. However, Netzel has not had a clean sheet at all. And another thing you got to note about Matt Pisani is he was named Defensive Player of the Week. He logged 2 wins on the season, and the only thing you could point to about Pisani is that BC game. But other than that, he's kept a clean sheet twice, and there's no doubt that he should be the starter going forward.
Yeah. Joey, listen, if I'm being honest with you, we were starting off with an agreement here. I thought we were going to start off with a debate, and I get it that I get that Netzel, he's played well so far, but I have to go with Matt Pisani again. Part of the reason is, first off, he's a second-year player. He's a sophomore. He has a lot more experience. And another thing you mentioned, he's had 2 clean sheets out of the 3 starts that he's had so far this season. He's just played a lot better. I think that his leadership as a goalie has been better than Netzel overall. So we're starting off with an agreement here on what is supposed to be a debate show, but I'm going to go with Matt Pisani. I agree with you. I think that he should be the starter going forward into MAC play and in this game against Sacred Heart coming up tomorrow.
Yesterday, Joey, Santino, and I went out to the practice field to kick the ball around and discuss men's soccer. Check it out. We decided to leave the media suite and come out to the practice field to talk a little about men's soccer and kick the ball around too. Tomorrow, men's soccer will face Sacred Heart just across the street there at 4 p.m. But before we get to that, let's look at this Central Connecticut State University game where Quinnipiac beat the team 2-1. Joey, what were some positive and negatives you saw during that game?
It's a good question, Jackie. There were definitely positives and negatives in the Bobcats' 2-1 victory. We'll start with the positives, of course. Now, the Bobcats created a lot of chances. They outshot the Blue Devils. They've moved it around very nicely despite not having their best player, Bragassen. So that was a positive on their end. However, they couldn't finish a lot of their chances. CCSU played them very well, and the Bobcats could have easily had a bigger lead. A lot of their chances were sitters. They could have been tap-ins, guys, but the Bobcats did not finish, so that's something they should work on going into their next matches, capitalizing on those chances. What did you see, Tino?
Yeah, Joey, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think that a big part of why they missed those opportunities, I agree with you in that respect of that Bragassen was not in the game. He's one of your senior leaders. I think we can both agree he's your best goal scorer, right? So I would venture to say not having him in the game really did lead to a lot of those missed opportunities. Overall, I think the Bobcats played well as a whole. Like you said, good passing. They got more shots on net, which is good. You always want to be putting the ball in a position to score points, but you got to capitalize. And I think once Bragassen is back in the lineup, when those senior leaders do take, again, more of a leadership role, play up to their potential, the Bobcats will capitalize on those opportunities.
Now, looking towards tomorrow, Quinnipiac faced Sacred Heart in the spring and won 2-0. Who are some key players to watch out for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jason Budai again. I'm going to stick with this kind of trend that I have going with the senior leaders. I think that Jason Budai is going to have a phenomenal game against Sacred Heart. He's going to help, I think, prepare those younger players. A lot of those freshmen have been playing a lot of minutes for the Bobcats so far this season. He'll help prep them for that game, and I think Budai will be the reason they come out of that game with a victory. So what do you think?
It's not a bad pick, Tino, but I got a couple other senior leaders for you. Let's start with Tomas Fekula. The man has scored a goal in each of the Bobcats' home games this season. He's starting to get back on form. Look out for him to make an impact. Also, can't forget about David Bercedo.
Yeah.
The team's leader in goals right now with 3 goals. Definitely look out for him to make a big impact up front.
After hearing your thoughts, let's take it back to the desk.
All right, let's go.
Now, wasn't that fun yesterday? And
Yeah, it was awesome. No, it was really fun. And I loved about the way you closed it out, Joey.
I brought out the celebrations. I come to play.
Exactly.
So I know yesterday we talked a little about the upcoming Sacred Heart game and how the Bobcats won the Connecticut Cup 2-0 in March of 2022. Do we think the Bobcats will win again versus the Pioneers with 5 games under their belts? Tino, do you think they can pull out the victory tomorrow?
Simple answer, yes, I genuinely do. So the Bobcats so far this season, they're 3-1-1, while the Pioneers are 2-3 so far this season. And if we look at some overall numbers for both of these teams, the Bobcats so far, they've outscored their opponents 11 goals to 8 so far this season, while the Pioneers, they've been outscored by their opponents 4 goals to 6. That right there just shows you that the Bobcats are more efficient scorers. They can score the ball better than the Pioneers can. You look at their goals per game on average for both teams. Pioneers are averaging 0.8 goals per game, not even a 1 whole goal per game, while the Bobcats are averaging a little bit over 2 with 2.2 goals per game. Overall, the Bobcats are just more efficient in scoring the ball. I think that'll translate again into this game, and the Bobcats are going to come out with their 4th victory of the year.
Yeah, you know what? I actually agree with you, Tino.
2 in a row, man.
2 in a row. Look at us. I think they'll win. They'll win. The Bobcats have a great offense. They're second in the MAC in goals right now. They should be first, but Siena actually had an 8-0 win against the Hawks, and they eclipsed the Bobcats in the MAC total. But really, Quinnipiac is the best goal-scoring team in the MAC as of right now. So offensively, they've been pretty dominant on the season. And you had a good point about Sacred Heart as well. I mean, they have not lived up to par. Offensively, goal-scoring wise, they've only scored 4 goals on the season, Tino. That is nothing.
And they've had 68 total shots, and Quinnipiac's had 54 total shots with 11 goals. So
yeah, exactly. So Sacred Heart is not there with Quinnipiac. And another thing Quinnipiac does really well is they play the long ball beautifully, almost like what we see with the women's soccer team, how we started to see Lo Spinoso play through balls.
Yep.
João Pinto has done that from the back for this men's soccer team. Sacred Heart's not going to be able to handle it, and if they can't generate offense against Quinnipiac, they have no chance. I got Quinnipiac winning this.
Definitely. And another point I'm going to bring up, too, we talked about Pisani in the first question. I think the size that he brings compared to Netzel in goal is going to be a key factor in this game. He's 2 inches taller than Netzel, and he's just a bigger overall body. He has a better ability to stop balls from going into the net. I just think overall he's the better leader outside of, compared to Netzel. So I'm going to go with Pisani again to start. And I just want to reiterate that point that having him starting in goal against Sacred Heart is going to be one of the key factors, in my opinion, to why they're going to come through with that victory.
All right, so maybe I'll get you guys to disagree here with a women's soccer question. So last week, the women's soccer team defeated Fordham University 3-1. During that game, 2 of the 3 goals were scored from Rebecca Cook. After the game, head coach Dave Clark was asked about Cook's skills and field positioning. Take a listen.
So Rebecca's no different. Is that is she better with her back to goal at international level, or is she better coming from deep? And we've looked at our goals. Probably 90% of our goals are coming from deep runs. So once she starts to understand that's our strength, rather than picking up the ball with her back to play and trying to turn. But then the other aspect of that is giving her the ball. So we know that if we're playing a team that just sits 2 blocks of forward in, we can put her at right back, because you can't defend that run. And if you do, then if a player tracks back, that's fine. It opens up somebody else. So she has the ability to play in a number of positions.
After hearing that quote from Dave Clark, where should he play Rebecca Cook to ensure that the Bobcats can be successful as possible? What are your thoughts, Joey?
Listen, I think for me, Cook has got to play an attacking role for this Bobcats team. I don't care if right back is maybe her best position in pro soccer, but in MAC soccer for the Bobcats, she's most effective as a forward. I personally would like to see her play center forward type of role, because she also can create chances. Maybe she wants to slide back to Cam and sort of set other people up, but her finishing ability is incredible. She's dominated the MAC for years and years. She's led her team in goals for every single year that she's been on this Bobcats team. It's amazing what we see. She's currently leading the MAC in goals right now. She has 8 goals in just 4 starts. That is remarkable. I don't see how Dave Clark could shift her anywhere back to fullback. That wouldn't make sense right now with how dominant she's been offensively. She's a forward in my eyes. Personally, I'd like to see her at center forward. I definitely think Cook, with her goal-scoring ability, will be a forward for a long time to come in Quinnipiac.
Yeah, Joey, I'm going to play devil's advocate, even though I do understand where you're coming from, and I agree with most of the points that you made, and I want to touch on something you talked about. Again, scoring 8 goals so far in the MAC, leading the MAC in terms of goals. She's had 3 braces so far, scoring 2 goals, at least 2 goals in 3 separate games this season. She's been phenomenal. But Head coach Dave Clark did talk about the fact when she played, in Ireland over the summer, she was playing in the pro league over there. She played a lot of right back. That is something that, because of the IQ that she has, Rebecca Cook is one of those players where she can impact the game at a phenomenally high level no matter where she is on the field. Now, yes, while she's been super, super impactful at the forward position, having 17 points, scoring 8 goals so far this season, I genuinely think she could be a big help playing at right back where she did in Ireland over the summer. I'm not saying that she will get moved there, but I could 100% understand Coach Clark's logic and to why he would want to move her there because of the IQ she displays in the game and her ability to affect the game no matter where she is on the field.
No, I don't see that. I think you're going to highlight her IQ. That would be best in the midfield then. That's where the midfielders are where IQ shows most. They set up their other players. They create balls. They create chances. They're the ones that have to decide if they want to take the ball and run and shoot, which we've seen Rebecca Cook go coast to coast to score goals all season long. Talked about her success scoring goals, leading the MAC in goals. We both noticed that. I think if you're also going to highlight her IQ, then you should be agreeing with me that she should slide back to the cam role. Definitely think in MAC soccer, there's no reason for her to be shifting to fullback when this team has a chance to really make a title run with Monmouth gone.
Listen, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm just saying I would understand if they moved her.
Now this weekend, the women's team will play Niagara here in Hamden. While it is also being the alumni game, parents' weekend, as well as the start of MAC play, are the Bobcats going to be able to pull off the win versus one of the top teams in the MAC right now?
Yeah, I genuinely do think they will pull off the win. I mean, you're coming into this game, alumni weekend. You're at home. You have the energy of the fans. It's the first game in MAC play, in the MAC conference. I think they come out and make a massive statement against Niagara and let not just Niagara, but all of the teams around the MAC know we are here to make a statement. We're here to win the entire thing this year. This is going to be the start of their eventual journey to what I believe will be an eventual MAC championship this year.
Well, Tino, I know you. I know how you spend your weekend afternoons. You park at Hogan Lot. You make your way to the Quinnipiac Soccer and Lacrosse Stadium. You're covering the women's soccer team. Yeah, I know. I know you. And I know you know that the Bobcats have struggled to play a full 90 minutes all season long. The second half is when they get beat. And that's not going to fly against the Purple Eagles, pun intended there. Niagara is a decent team, one of the top in the MAC, to be honest. They will not be able to handle it if the Bobcats can't finish in the second half. You look at the Quinnipiac this season, they just tied a one-win team in URI, and they got outplayed. They have no business tying Rhode Island at all. And what happened was URI scored both of their goals in the second half. The Bobcats have conceded goals in the second half every single game they've played since the Yale game in August. Ever since that game, they've conceded a goal in the second half every single game on their season. So if they're going to keep doing that, it's not going to fly this weekend, and they're going to lose to the Purple Eagles. And for me, I think it'll be the wake-up call, because I do agree that they'll be phenomenal this season, Tino, but this will be the wake-up call game, and they're going to realize they have to go full 90.
Listen, Joey, while you're not wrong that, yes, Quinnipiac has allowed at least one goal in the second half, you're talking about they haven't completed a game, a full 90 minutes since the Yale game. That's just straight out a lie. If you watch the Fordham game, in the final 10 minutes, that's where they pulled away and scored 2 goals and took that 3-1 win. That's where they were able to pull away towards the end of the game. So yes, I understand they haven't, completed full 90 minutes, but I think the Bobcats are going to do enough to get this win and pull it out against Niagara.
Well, help us out here, Jackie. What do you think? Who's going to win?
I have to agree with Joey on this one, Tino.
Let's go.
I know we got to
I don't understand. I'm getting double
Sorry,
teamed.
Tino. Sorry. Let's take our first break, but don't go anywhere, as when we come back, we talk all things field hockey and more.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. It's here. It's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
On Sunday, Quinnipiac faced off against Long Island University, where the Bobcats had more shots on net and more penalty corners, yet they still suffered a last-minute loss to LIU with a score of 2-3. What led to Quinnipiac's loss despite them dominating the stat sheet? Tino, what do you think happened?
It's very self-explanatory. What happened is they did not capitalize on their opportunities. Again, they had 8 penalty corners to LIU's 2, and they were 0 for 8 on penalty corners. I'll say it again. They were 0 for 8 on penalty corners. I don't see how you can expect to win a game when not only did you outshoot them 11-7, but then you get 6 more penalty corners and don't seem to convert one of them. That just doesn't, that's not a recipe for success. You're not going to win a game when you're missing that many opportunities against a team like LIU. So it's just very simple. A lack of opportunities and not converting on them. It's ultimately the reason they lost.
Yeah, that was definitely a factor, for sure. I mean, the 0 for 8 is an astonishing number. I'm going to take it even a step further, Tino, because in both of the Bobcats' home games, they went 0 for 8 on penalty corners. That makes them 0 for 16 on penalty corners at home. That's certainly not going to win you field hockey games. Another thing that definitely factored in was Quinnipiac had never played LIU before, and Becca Main talked about this in the press conference. She basically said that they had never played it. Their play style was unfamiliar because LIU kind of plays like a high-risk, high-reward kind of style. So that's why you might have seen Quinnipiac up in the stat sheet, but they got the high rewards, and Becca Main and her squad weren't prepared for this unfamiliar style that they've never seen before.
I will say, Joey, the one thing I'm going to bring up, I will commend the team because they were down 2-0 at the end of the first half. They did almost complete the comeback, tying the game 2-2, but ultimately, again, lost 3-2. So we do have to give them some kind of credit for being able to bounce back and have perseverance going into the second half. Ultimately, again, when you're 0 for 8 in one game, and like you said, 0-16 overall in penalty corners, it's not a recipe for success, and that's the end of it.
Now, although we have not seen the women's volleyball team at home lately, the Bobcats traveled to Moorhead, Kentucky, where they competed in the Comfort Inn Invitational. At the Comfort Inn Invitational, the Bobcats performed poorly, losing to the likes of Moorhead State, North Alabama, and Robert Morris. After playing in a tournament like this, do either of you still have confidence in this young roster to turn around and finish the season with a winning record? Joey, we'll start with you.
I still have confidence in this young roster, absolutely. I got a chance to speak with Maggie Baker last year, who was one of the veterans on this volleyball team, and she had the utmost confidence in this roster going forward. You got to think about Alexandra Tenen. Last year in a playoff game, she recorded 14 kills. This was her first year. Here she is, a year later, she's a sophomore that's leading the team in kills. The second leader in kills for the Bobcats is a first year, Gio Vagnoni. 84 kills on the season, and she is second on the team. So they have 2 young players that are dominating the stat sheet already. And let's not forget, they still have Ariana Diaz. They still have Nicole Legg. Ariana Diaz is one of the most versatile volleyball players I have ever covered. She had 11 double-doubles last season, and in her freshman year, she led the MAC in triple-doubles. It's incredible. They still have her on the roster, and they have these young, talented players recording kills. Of course, they have confidence in this team.
Joey, you think they're going to finish with a winning record? All right, so first off, they're on a 4-game losing streak, and they're 1-6 right now. If I'm being honest with you, the thing that I'm noticing about this team is they're just unable to bounce back. I mean, they had lost 1 game before going into to that invitational that they played in. They played a team, again, in Robert Morris, who they historically have not been very good against. You lose to Moorhead State and North Alabama, who are 2 teams that you've never played against before. So I can kind of understand why you lose those games. But right now on a 4-game skid, I just do not see this team being able to bounce back and finish with a winning record when, again, right now you're 1-6. And I don't even know when they're going to be able to bounce back off of this losing streak. I'd like to hear your take on what team what their next win will be, what team they're going to get it against, because I honestly don't see it.
Tino, this happened last year. They started off 1-6.
Did they finish with a winning record?
Talk about it. They were 500. That's exactly what the question we're talking about is, and like I said, I have utmost confidence in this young, talented roster.
It's a good segue into our next question, Joey. Continuing with volleyball, the team's record through the first 7 games has been 1-7 in each of the last 2 seasons. What has been the biggest reason for their slow starts in the past 2 seasons? Tino, we'll start with you.
I'm going to continue with what I said in the last question. My last answer, more specifically, is that it's an inability to bounce back. Because if you look at the Bobcats last season, they were on an 8-game skid, and that was part of the reason they couldn't finish with a winning record. This team is on a 4-game losing streak right now, and again, we don't know when it's going to end. And Joey, if you want to give me the team that you think the next team they're going to beat now, I'm just being honest with you. It's the lack of resiliency, the inability to bounce back after tough losses, and to continue down the slump that they get into in the early on in the season.
I'll give you a team. I'll tell you right now. In October, they're going to win their first home game. You wait. I might be commentating it. Who knows? Who knows? But I definitely think that's what they're going to win. Getting back to Jackie's question, though, because I'm more intrigued with what she had to say. Let's be honest there. I think it's going to have to be the fact that they just haven't found their groove. It takes a while for this Bobcats team to adjust to their lineup because, once again, as she pointed out, it happened last year. They started out 1-6. We had Maggie Baker in the lineup early, and then she started to fade out of the lineup a little bit. They started to give Olga a little bit more playing time, and other Bobcats to come in, get more sets played. So it usually takes a little while for Kyle Robinson to find the groove for this lineup, for this Bobcats team. They've always had a little bit of a slow start. That's kind of how it's gone the past 2 years. But once they get clicking and they get their young players in a groove, they'll be just fine for the rest of the season.
Their mindset needs to change going on the rest of the season because their mindset didn't adapt last season, and that's part of why, again, they didn't finish with a winning record. I need to see some kind of mindset adjustment, some kind of resiliency from this team, because if we don't, they're not going to finish with a winning record, and that's the facts of the situation.
Well, that was an intense debate, guys. It's time to take our final break of the night. But don't go anywhere as we talk about the QBSN Game of the Week, and of course, we have Final Roars. You don't want to miss this. This week's QBSN Game of the Week is the men's soccer win over Central Connecticut State University. The Bobcats welcomed the Blue Devils to Hamden on Saturday, where they would win 2-1. Senior forward Tomas Fekula scored in the first 26 minutes, assisted by Jason Budai, while graduate student Alex Hawley scored about 30 minutes later, assisted by Eric Langwagon, to give the Bobcats the win. Now Quinnipiac is set to face off against Sacred Heart tomorrow at 4 p.m. here in Hamden. Now it's time for our final roars. Tino, let's start with you.
So a few weeks ago, I wrote an article centered around Monmouth leaving the MAC conference. Now, Monmouth was the powerhouse in the MAC for nearly a decade as they won 6 out of the last 9 MAC championships. Now that they've left the conference, there's an opportunity for another team to take their place as the new top dogs in the MAC. There are a lot of contenders this season, including teams like Niagara, who we mentioned, Ryder, and Siena. Despite being only 6 games into the season, however, I'm going to make my prediction for who will win the MAC right here, right now in Studio 125. The women's soccer team is going to win the MAC championship this year. Since 2013, the Bobcats have played in 2 MAC championship games, but have come up short on both occasions. With star players such as Rebecca Cook, Sofia Lospinoso, and Courtney Choko playing at a high level, I believe this is the year where the Bobcats will finally get over the hump and capture that elusive title they've been seeking for so many years.
The Bobcats men's soccer team is no stranger to MAC success. They've had a multitude of winning seasons. In 2021, they were in the MAC championship game where they fell to Monmouth at home. Yet, in their most recent season, they missed the playoffs. This was uncharacteristic for Eric DaCosta and his squad. It's time for the Bobcats to get back to their glory days. The team's dynamic this season is fascinating. They have veteran, senior leaders such as David Bercedo, Bragasen, Tomas Fekula, and others. In fact, all of their goals this season have been scored by seniors and grad students. Yet they're also missing some key pieces from the past few years, like Jordan Bennett and Henry Vigan. And this is where the roster gets interesting, because young first years have been tossed into the lineup and are logging big minutes. Alexander Sterngard leads the team in minutes, and João Pinto is in the top 4. First year Luke Shirenbeck has also played in every game for the Bobcats. It's a fascinating dynamic of new and old, where the Bobcats' top goal scorers are veterans and the defense is led by rookies. They're currently 3-1-1, and there's plenty of reason to be optimistic about this team.
Tonight, we have talked a lot about fall sports and their ongoing play before conference play starts. Each team is chasing their own title and personal goals, whether it be women's soccer looking to win the MAC or field hockey looking to make a name in the Big East. Each team brings their own unique stories and skills to the table that makes each game and match worth watching the teams. The teams will continue to have to fight and play at their best if they want to win and bring a title back to Hamden. As the fall season progresses, it'll be interesting to see how each team adapts and changes to what comes their way and what the individual outcomes will be. I also think it'll be fun for myself and other sports fans to sit back and enjoy the games here in Hamden and see where the season leads. Now guys, what game are you looking forward to in this week?
Joey, I'll kick it off. Obviously, Jackie and I are women's soccer beat reporters. I'm going to go with the Niagara-Quinnipiac game this weekend. It's alumni weekend. Parents are going to be there. It's going to be an exciting atmosphere. You and I are going to be covering the game. It's sure to be a fun one. The start of MAC play. I am so looking forward to this game. I'm excited for a Quinnipiac win, unlike what you think. But listen, Bobcats are going to pull it out. Super excited for that game.
I personally am super excited for the men's soccer game that we already talked about on the show. I think we're really going to see the Bobcats offense explode if they get things right. And the commentary should be phenomenal. Tune in to Ben Kane and Megan Phillips. It's going to be a great game and a great call.
Good shout out there.
Well, I have to agree with Tino on this one. I'm excited for the Niagara game. But another 30 minutes have come and gone. Be sure to stick with Q30 on Twitter at Q30 Sports, like us on Facebook, and download our app. Available on the App Store and Google Play, and find us on our website at Q30TV.com. From everyone from behind the scenes, Santino, Joey, see you next time on Bobcat Breakdown.